at Fenway South is the Chief Baseball Officer of the Boston Red Sox, Craig Breslow. Hello, Craig.
Hello, good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, and I appreciate the Pearl Jam introduction. I have to remind myself that any answer I give may be played back a year later.
Yes, so that's the way it works.
Think very carefully about how I respond.
It's possible that you could look forward, perhaps more than you did last year, to our weekly interviews this upcoming season.
I always looked forward to that.
Oh, you did? Okay. I don't know if I believe you, but I'm glad. I appreciate the effort. But listen, you're probably going to say wait till the season starts, but congratulations on what was a really active offseason.
Thank you. And I will say we need to wait till the season starts and the season plays out. But I think going into the offseason with a very clear punch list of needs that we had to address, and then feeling like, collectively as a front office with the support of ownership, we were able to hit on a number of those. It feels good coming in here. Now we need to execute on that.
What was when it came to Alex Bregman, which I think has changed the vibe, changed the mood a lot. Interesting that one signing can really do that. What was it felt like a delay watching it from the outside. Was that about the player? Was that about the length of the term of the deal? What took a while to get that deal done?
Yeah, I think the baseball offseason does tend to drag out. There's no signing deadline. There's no kind of constraint around that. And we've seen over the last probably 5 years or so some of these kind of more prominent free agent signings last into early spring training. I think we identified Alex as being a great fit for our team, but also needed to do that on kind of terms that felt responsible and comfortable, or kind of slightly uncomfortable for us. And ultimately, when you have a player as accomplished as Alex is, he's got choices and needed to work through all of those pretty deliberately. But ultimately, we're thankful he chose the Boston Red Sox.
What was it about him when you were looking at who was available that, I'm sure a lot of it was Alex Cora. He was on this show earlier in the week, and he's, clearly a big fan. But what was it about him that made you say this is the right guy to add here?
Yeah, I think it's the totality of the player. It's really easy to talk about the championship pedigree and leadership that he brings into a clubhouse, but I think that would take away a bit from what he's accomplished on the field. And we went into the offseason highlighting the need to improve our infield defense, to balance out our lineup, and the ability to be able to check two boxes with one acquisition made a ton of sense. And then in the short time that Alex has been around, his impact on the clubhouse, his impact on the coaching staff, his attention to detail, and his attention to the work every day has been really, really impressive.
Craig, when it comes to that Alex relationship, last season when we talked to you a lot about the future of the Red Sox, we weren't sure if the future included Alex Cora or not. Now that it does, what's that difference like with your relationship? How collaborative is it when you're building a future for this franchise? Yeah,
I think it allows us to pursue or follow this shared vision completely, right? We've got interests that are aligned, and it was easy for me to recognize the talent that Alex had as a leader and as a manager, but the contract status always casts some uncertainty on the future, and now it's been really easy to collaborate. I think there's just been really open and honest and candid conversation with each other. I think he feels comfortable speaking up and letting me know his perspective on things, and I really, really value that.
Craig, the aftermath of the Bregman signing yielded a photo on Instagram of John Henry lighting a cigar. And a guy that has been, not exactly front-facing the last several years with a lot of criticism regarding the spending. It felt like it was a public announcement that the John Henry that we know and love is back, and that the organization reasserted itself with that signing. What did that, specifically to you, what did the ownership's ability to get $120 million over 3 years for Bregman mean?
Yeah, I think it was a testament and further evidence of the support and resources that this organization has, and the commitment to winning that the ownership group shares with the front office, the coaching staff, and the players. And I think we've talked a lot about when opportunities present themselves for us to improve our team in a meaningful way, having the support of ownership to do so, and this was another example of that. This was presented to them as a great fit, a unique opportunity, and I said it in the press conference. This was something that they didn't just authorize, but they supported.
Did you feel like you had to get the team to a certain point in order for that type of a investment, that the team had to be worthy of that type of investment, that it was close enough to contend that Bregman would actually be a massive assist?
We didn't have conversations that took that shape explicitly, but I think the ownership group, John, Tom, Mike, Sam, others, recognized that we are on the cusp of what we're optimistic and hopeful is going to be a sustained window of contention, and a player like Alex really does move the needle. And I think when that became clear, we had the full support.
Craig, one of the things that we talked to Alex Cora about, and it's probably
you didn't say it the way you always say it.
Oh, Craig, right? That's the I got to put the spin on it. But one of the things that we talked to Alex Cora about is the collaboration. But as a manager, he also talked about he wants every player. So when you look at your relationship and kind of where you stand on the hierarchy of like, all right, are you the final decision maker when it comes to when you and Alex might not be on the same page for certain guys because you brought up all contracts and money and that kind of thing? Do you sometimes have to talk to Alex and say, I know we would all love this guy, but we can't afford him, or maybe this guy fits better? And then are you the guy that has to make that final decision when it comes to, those type of hard decisions?
Yeah, so the simple answer is yes. I kind of shoulder the responsibility and accountability for roster construction and transactions, and ultimately, I do have kind of final decision-making authority. That being said, I greatly value Alex's perspective, the perspective of others. There are things that you pick up on by being in the dugout and around the players and in the clubhouse every single day that we just can't, being kind of removed. And so Alex and I are constantly having conversations about what are kind of voids that we need to fill in the roster. As you're thinking through strategically planning for a game against the Yankees, what do you feel like we're missing? What do you feel like is an advantage that we have? And I think it would be silly to ignore those thoughts, those insights, that collaboration, because if we didn't value that, then we made kind of the wrong decision in Alex Cora being our manager.
But if you didn't get the Bregman deal done, you guys wouldn't have spoken for a couple of months or whatever, right?
Right.
I'm assuming. On this roster now, you have a guy who's on the short list from when it comes to Cy Young winners this season, and front runners at least for that. When will you begin? Have you spoken about extension with Garrett Crochet? How does that work?
Yeah, I think out of respect to the process, I'm not going to share details.
You could give us a little,
but that Garrett has been outspoken about being at least interested in exploring whether or not there's the opportunity to pursue this relationship longer term. I have as well. A bona fide number one starter that sits at the top of your rotation and can win a playoff game is a really, really good place to start as you think about building a team capable of making a deep postseason run.
Yeah, you get chills when you hit bona fide number one starter, Curtis.
I'm bona fide excited right now. I cannot. I'm about to jump out of my seat. No, it's finally, it feels like we have a summer of something to watch where we feel like, as just myself, that the team can contend, and that's where the organization should always be. I think it's great that it's where they are now. And just with the Cora relationship, because last year we sat here and we all just believed that it was a matter of time before Alex was gone. And the extension at the All-Star break came out of nowhere for us, obviously not for you guys. You were, speaking. But the way Alex Cora told it at Winter Weekend was sort of, you invited him over the house and just sort of was like, hey, let's put everything on the table. This is where we are. This is where we're going. And how would you describe how things have been from that meeting until you sit here on the precipice of the 2025 season?
Yeah, I think, obviously we're incredibly fortunate, and I think we're very well positioned given that Alex was interested in engaging in that conversation. But I think as a result of that, that really served as a catalyst to get everything on the table, to be able to speak completely frankly with each other. I thought it was really important that if we're going to kind of create this relationship into the future, whether it was 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever it ends up being, we wanted to do so knowing exactly where the other person stood, from in-game strategy, roster construction, direction of the organization, windows of contention, how we're going to build a sustainable winner, and those conversations allowed us to do that. And from there, I just think the level of transparency, the communication has increased, to the point that we're talking through the off season on the phone a couple times a day, and through spring training so far, I'll pop down, he'll pop up, and we'll just bounce ideas off of each other in a way that's really, really productive.
And when it comes to the actual roster, do you check after you speak with Alex? Do you call Tristan Casas and say, hey, the manager and I just spoke, but wanted to run this by you? Is that how it goes? Or
that's usually the sequence of events, yes.
Are you, we should get into that because that's all everybody's been talking about. Are you comfortable? Is Raffy Devers comfortable? Are you comfortable with the way that whole thing is being handled internally?
Right. I mean, there are a lot of conversations that go on internally between Alex and players, Alex and me, players and me, and it turns out not everyone is privy to those conversations. Yeah. Right? But look, like, Raffy is an incredibly competitive guy. I think we saw him say 2 days ago that winning is the most important thing, right? Winning is going to supersede everything. And that's true of Raffy. That's true of Alex Bregman. It's true of Alex Cora. It's true of me. And if that is where we're starting, we're going to be just fine.
But did you have conversations? Would you have conversations with him as you're looking at Bregman prior to getting the deal done? And say, hey, we're thinking about doing this. This may impact you in this way. Is that something that goes on with a player of his stature and what you've invested in him?
Right. I mean, Raffy has earned the respect from this organization, and he has the respect of the entire industry for what he's accomplished on the field. Now, I don't know that there's a perfect way to handle those types of conversations. What I can say is, we acted decisively to bring in Alex Bregman because we recognize that he can improve our team, and that Raffy has been very outspoken about wanting to win, wanting to be assured that the front office is doing everything that we can be doing to win. And we were kind of consumed with how we get Alex Bregman into a Boston Red Sox uniform.
Right.
Now that he's here,
and forgot to tell him about it.
And now that he's here, we have to put the pieces together in a way that gives us the best chance to win games. Yeah. And I think that's all anybody could ask for.
Yeah, and it'll work itself out, right? The best player will be the perfect player for the position will be at the position on opening day.
Right. We're going to take the 26 guys who help us win as many games as possible on opening day. We're going to put in the field the 8 guys plus a pitcher who help us win the game that day. And like I said, if we establish our baseline is we've got 26 guys that are pulling in the same direction, and that direction is toward winning games, we're going to be okay.
But
you want to follow up on that?
Yeah, we talk about going in the same direction. Like, in all sincerity, it didn't feel like Tristan Casas was going in the same direction. It felt like he was, in standing up for Devers, was also kind of defensive of himself. Is he a guy that is part of this future for the long term? Is he someone that I know was a frustration on your end in the pace that he returned last season from Worcester? It just seems like he has been sort of a stick in the mud on occasion when it comes to the direction of the organization.
I don't think I would ever be critical of someone who speaks up and shares their opinion on something. We can discuss whether or not it is productive, whether it makes a ton of sense, but never fault someone who feels comfortable speaking up. And I think the environment that has been created that allows people to speak up is actually a really good one. That being said, I don't think we've seen the best of Tristan Casas on the field, and this is a guy that I believe can hit in the middle of our order for a really long time. And when he's doing that, I think we're going to be focused less on what he might have said on a park bench in February, and more about his ability to drive in probably 120 runs and hit 40 home runs.
Does it feel like the media is maybe blowing the whole thing out of proportion when it comes to Bregman endeavors and the way in which Tristan has responded to it? Because when we ask Alex Cora about it, he says everybody's an adult in the locker room. It's a different vibe. Everybody's handling it with respect, and it seems like everybody is on the same page.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think if you walked through the clubhouse, you would not see a clubhouse that felt divided, or there were different factions or pockets of people. You would see 60-something guys there talking about baseball. Alex in the middle of it, Raffy in the middle of it, Tristan in the middle of it. Events away from the field where everybody shows up and just wants to talk about baseball. This is, in the short amount of time, this is probably the group of guys that I've been around who most just want to talk about baseball, how we can improve the team, different information that can be leveraged, or finer focus on a drill that will be helpful. And I think that sometimes can get lost in all of the other noise.
Well, Craig, to talk about baseball then, because Devers feels like, all right, I'm a third baseman, that's where I want to play, I don't want to move to DH. How do players feel that are positional players and fielders, how do they feel about moving to DH? Do they feel like maybe they're not being able to utilize all their skill sets because they're not playing the field? Can you kind of give us a little insight to how a positional player might feel becoming a DH? Because we as fans, we think, oh wow, it's less work, why not just go DH?
Sure. I was, as someone who's moved to DH in Little League, no, I think look, Major League players are successful because they carry a ton of pride in showing up to work every day, furthering their skills, practicing every day, and Raffy absolutely takes a ton of pride in playing third base, and I think that any transition could be is unique to the individual, and there's plenty of examples of guys who have made that transition seamlessly, and others who have found it a bit more challenging. So I don't think it's fair to kind of paint in broad strokes what that could look like. We know that Raffy is a cornerstone of this franchise. He's a bat that has game-changing potential, and we're really lucky that we're going to be able to write him into the middle of our lineup.
As the boss, what is your expectation for this team and what they should achieve this season? Win-wise?
Right. I mean, knowing that there are a lot of variables that still need to be determined.
You got to set an expectation?
Yeah, we were very outspoken about needing to heighten the standard and raise the level of expectations internally and for our fan base to a team that is capable of winning the division, a team that's capable of making a deep postseason run, and I think that we have worked really hard to put those pieces in place, but we need to go out and do that on the field. But if you were asking me today, do I think we have a team that's capable of making it to the postseason? Absolutely.
Greg, just a quick one. Have you gotten calls from other teams in the aftermath of the Bregman signing seeking to see if guys in your infield were available for a trade?
I think it's probably best to keep that to myself. We have definitely gotten calls from other teams who have told us that signing Alex Bregman is a great move for us, and they were not happy about it, though.
That's great.
Walker Buehler will make his debut Sunday?
Yes.
What's he bring to this team?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, a bit of the pitching version of Alex Bregman in terms of someone with a championship pedigree, a winner from, kind of his college days, the guy that was on the mound throwing the last pitch of the 2024 World Series, and someone who kind of walks around with his chest out a bit, and we need that. There's an edge to him when you talk to him. He's super competitive, and I think he's going to push our group forward.
Last one from me. Have you seen? Sam Kennedy said he hadn't. Have you seen the Netflix series?
I have seen parts of it.
You like it?
I do.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a great viewing experience for a wide audience.
You like the way you appear in it? I mean, are you?
Greg wants to know if any of his questions were.
I think there was a pretty accurate depiction of me. I'll leave it at that. So others will decide if they like
the
it.
Red Sox everybody keeps saying you guys had no editorial control.
That is true.
That's true?
Yes.
Because I feel like you're saying it a lot, but yes, no editorial control. So
Right.
when it airs,
We're
it
hedging,
could
right?
It could be anything, right? It could be anything.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just last one for me. Walker Buehler coming in. Is the Dodgers' approach good for baseball? Is what they've been doing? I mean, I've never, even when the Yankees and the Red Sox were at the peak of their powers, when it was the the Cold War winter of A-Rod, like it wasn't like this. Like, I mean, it's almost comical the amount of money where every time a free agent's available, it's the Dodgers will get him if they want him.
Sure. I think it's really easy to point to free agent acquisitions and dollars, but I think that probably ignores that the Dodgers have done a really good job of building from the ground up in terms of drafting and development, and their pipeline of talent that allows them to replenish has been really impressive. So even last year, when a number of their kind of high-priced free agent pitchers had gotten hurt, their 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th starting pitcher who was big league quality and big league caliber, was drafted and developed internally, was able to step right in. And so, is it good for baseball? I think, when teams are really good and fans get to admire kind of the pinnacle, that's generally good for sports. And the goal that the Boston Red Sox have is to figure out a way to be able to compete with that.
But do you feel like the spending that they do puts pressure on somebody like John Henry, where it becomes an issue of, all right, I'm going to have to keep up with the Joneses?
Right. Well, I think the short answer is we've got to figure out a way to be competitive, and dollars spent in free agency is one of those. But also, you look at our future and some of the young players who have been highlighted and gotten a ton of attention. Not every one of those guys was a first rounder and with a massive bonus. I think every team endeavors to find some advantage that they can leverage, and for us, if it's this combination of resources plus the ability to draft and develop particularly well, then we need to really embrace that.
I think I said last one for me, but I have one more. The big three. Which, if you had to be on record right now, which one of those guys ends up being an all-star in this league?
Did you think I was going to give you one name here? My hope is all of them, and more than three.
Okay, more than three. All right, so it's more than just, it's the big 60. It's everybody. Is what it is. It's everybody. All right, well, Craig, thanks a lot for taking the time. Look forward to talking to you once the season gets underway.
Sounds great.
Thanks for having us here. All right.